the mayor as well to come on. We have the coroner here, the chief of police here. We called this meeting together so that we can have an opportunity to speak to the elected officials. They are very humble in coming out to address some of our concerns. And I'm just so glad to see all of you here. Come on, give God a hand of praise. This is a God hand. Amen. I asked Pastor Kimball if he would come and do the invitation. Amen. And he's on his way. Everybody know Pastor Kimball has been pastoring in this area for quite some time. Amen. And we asked him to come at this time. And after Pastor Kimball get through praying, we're going to ask each one of the panel to introduce themselves. Ms. Najira Kamara passing out the format, and Dr. Lester is in the house, and Amen, Councilman Willie Bradford, and Craig Lee, and who's also been working diligently, amen, in this community for quite some time. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead on and do the invocation and get started.
Lord, we want to thank you for our being here tonight. We know that this is a great cause. It's a good cause for us to be here. And we pray that you would allow each of us to use our common sense and good wisdom, that we might be able to come together with some solutions to help us in our city. We know that our city needs healing. We're going through a lot of different things. And we just pray tonight that everybody's heart will be humble in their work and in their questions, and that we can all, when this is said and done tonight, that we can all leave here knowing that we've got an answer and that we are going to have a cure and a healing to help us in our city. Bless our elected officials, bless our police department and all who are here, and bless our council persons and all elected officials, and help us to do what we can do. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Amen. We're going to go down the line, amen, and have each one of the panel to just briefly let you know who they are before we open up dialogue. Now, sure, Kamara, she's going to come stand here. She's going to narrate the meeting that we're having. And I just want to personally thank God for all of you, because you are concerned about what's going on within your city. You do care. We had about 3,000 hits on Facebook. Some people are getting off of work saying that they will be on. So we just pray to God that this meeting is civil. Everybody that made the commitment is here. The person from the district attorney's office is waiting on her to come on in. Her name is on the paper as well. We want her to come up to the format when she gets here. So she's on her way as well. To God be the glory. God bless you. God keep you.
My name is Lloyd Thompson, the local president, as well as the vice president of the state. Thank you, Nate, for calling this meeting on this occasion, and hope that we can come up with some answers to let the community understand where we're coming from.
Okay. My name is Dr. Todd Toma. I'm the Cattle Parish coroner, fifth coroner in Cattle Parish now for approximately 12 years. Ben Raymond is the chief of police, Shreveport Police Department.
Michael Williams, former Shreveport commissioner, also community activist. Good to find solutions, not excuses. Not in the finger point to do what's right, not what's black or white. It's not about skin, it's about sin. Hope we can come back here collectively together, make a difference, have a plan, and leave it not just possible and meet, go back to the same vision that we. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. To Pastor Nathan, certainly to all of the officials who have come to share with us, and to all of you who are here on this afternoon. In our planning and discussion of how we were going to allow this meeting to transpire, we determined that what we wanted to hear was from the officials to hear their official capacities, the different and various limitations and constraints that law may provide, to where the general public may think a certain decision can be made, but as stated, that constraint would be there, and they have to operate within the guise of law. We also know too, there are the families, members of individuals who have lost loved ones, where there are a lot of questions unanswered. And so so we know there are great passions in the room. I too, standing here, you know, am a mother who lost a son to gun violence, and mine was very highly publicized on the television. It happened, I can say it all about it, my child, but Alexander Pierre James, at the age of 31, it was the incident that occurred at the Moon Rider Inn, and they showed it like several weeks, but no answers, and I never, you know, have gotten an answer or anything, and the doctor told me, I don't know that it's your fault, but I never got, you know, a coroner's report or anything. I was not even allowed to see my sons in the hospital or anything. So it's just like this wound, it's here, it's covered with a suit of armor, because I'm an advocate also. I stand to be a voice for people who don't have a voice, and when things happen to me, you know, I can't fall down and crash. I got to be there to offer solutions. And so that's what we're hoping would occur on this evening. We could come to resolve the solution. We know that there are a lot of paradigm changes that are occurring in our communities. Our young people, they perhaps are not getting the parenting that they need, and it may not be the parents' fault. The parents themselves may not have the necessary tools and skills that they need to address the needs of their children. And so you have hurting children that become hurting adults, and so you have a community of a lot of hurting people, and those hurts, you know, play out in various behaviors that unfortunately create a lot of crime and unfortunate activity in our community. So, with that being said, we wanted you all to speak within, and I'm going to yield the floor to Reverend Mays at any point for him to, you know, kind of straighten me out and get me on track with where he wants the discussion to go. But certainly we want solutions. I'm a believer that, you know, the answer to a problem can be found within the problem, not that those who are here are the problem, but we may be connected in somehow to where there are some problems, and so we have first-hand knowledge to offer solutions in certain areas. So that's where we want to go. Reverend Mays, how do you want to, from that point, they already spoke and told who they were, their names on the program as such, but with regard to your discussions with them, I'm sure they came prepared in a way to speak to what you have requested.
Right.
So, gentlemen.
So very briefly, we already
introduce themselves.
exactly what the discussion is entailing. So we want to give them an opportunity to just tell basically what they do, what their job is, how they make their determination. So we're just going to start. We can start with any one of them.
So, police chief.
Police chief.
Certainly, Pastor Mays, I'll explain the path I think you'd like to go down, and certainly let's go from there. So on February 5th, as all of you know now, I received a call around 4:35 to 4:40 in the evening time that we had an officer-involved shooting. I had to be in my vehicle, and I heard some chatter on the radio, was paying a lot of attention to it at the moment I was on the way to another meeting. Quickly was told that we had an officer-involved shooting to get a location, Hollywood King. Immediately went out to the scene and contacted the supervisor on scene. Some investigators and crime scenes began to show up. It was kind of briefed at that moment about what we knew, which is that we had an officer attempt to stop an individual who ran from him. Both of them fired shots. At that time, it was unknown exactly what the exchange of gunfire, what caused the exchange of gunfire. We did know that Anthony Childs was deceased at that point on scene. I had not been given his name as of yet, obviously, I know now. And so it was very early in the investigative process. And I know there within the first week or so, there were some concerns within the community about the investigation. I just want to make it clear, in any officer-involved shooting, any shooting, homicide of any nature, we are purposely somewhat hush-hush initially because we don't want to get information wrong. I don't want to share information with the public that we don't know to be correct. Also don't want to share information with the public that might only be known by those that might have been involved in a crime, those that may have witnessed this particular incident. So we want to make sure we let those people come forward and we have all the information before we release, those results. I was made aware in the first couple of weeks that Mr. Childs may have possibly shot himself during the exchange of gunfire, and at that point, we were waiting on the coroner to review the investigation and give some further investigative results. While our investigators continue to work the case, we had several witnesses on scene. We do have MVS, our mobile cameras within the vehicle, dash cam video, if you will, that shows certainly a portion of the incident. Knowing the full story, you actually can gather a lot of information from that video. If you just watch the video without knowing the officer's statements, the witness statements, and what the evidence on scene showed you, the video may not be that conclusive. But when you put it all together, it actually lends itself very well to exactly what we were told happened, what the witnesses saw, what Dr. Tobin's report verified ultimately, which is that Anthony Childs did shoot himself with a weapon. And then he also was struck by gunfire from the officer who believed that that Anthony was still a threat, having produced this weapon, shot himself, went to the ground, and pointed the weapon in the direction of the officer. So the officer did also fire some rounds. None of the rounds fired by the officer, 3 of the rounds fired by the officer struck Anthony. None of those 3 would have been lethal. So he would have survived those injuries, quite likely would have survived those injuries. The lethal round determined to be the one shot at what we call contact range by Mr. Childs.
And also we have another person that is on the panel now. He's going to introduce himself and who he is. Let's give the chief a hand. Thank you, Chief.
My name is Anthony Johnson. I'm a longtime resident of Shreveport. I'm also a former cattle sheriff deputy from Shreveport City Marshal. Childs was adopted by my auntie when he was 3 years old, so I've been knowing him all his life. There's some things that I'm concerned about from a law enforcement perspective, not just here in Shreveport, but nationwide when it comes to the African American community, because of how I was trained. And I just want to share some of the things that I think that we can do different to try to help to implement some less use of force or deadly force when it comes to our community. And that's why I'm here today.
We also now want to hear from the coroner and also the district attorney's office. If the person has arrived from the DA's office at this time, we would ask that you would come up, or if she's on her way, either one. We have her name, she's on the program. We have the commitment from James that she would be here and represent his current view on why he came to his conclusion. Also, we was looking for Representative James Green. We have a commitment from him. Hopefully he's on his way over this district. But at this time, we want to go ahead and hear from those who are here.
Thank you. First of all, is it better? Yeah. Thank you very much for having me be here and me speak. I really would like to find out from you what exactly you'd like me to talk about. Do you want me to specifically talk about the Anthony Childs case, or do you want me to talk about what my job is as a coroner in the investigation? You want to talk about the Anthony Childs case? Okay. I start off by telling you a little bit about what the coroner does. The coroner is almost always a medical doctor. You cannot run against the doctor if the doctor runs the coroner. And the reason is the coroner is supposed to be the most medically knowledgeable person in the investigation. He's supposed to be the one that helps the DA, the police department, sort out cases and take cases that would not normally, or would normally go to court, not go to court. I'm supposed to use all the skills that I have to make decisions. The Louisiana statutes lay out which cases that I have to investigate. All traumatic cases, accidental cases, all trauma, people that die within 24 hours in the hospital, people that die outside of the hospital. A lot of people think that the coroner's job is to do autopsies and find out why everybody dies. That's not what the coroner's job is. The coroner's job is to investigate deaths to make sure no crime has been committed and there's no public health risk. So that's why they lay out the cases that we do. And here in Parish, the Parish Coroner's Office does about 3,000 death investigations a year. Out of those 3,000, about 225 or to 250, I determined need to go to autopsy for further evaluation. My job when it's all over is to give the time, manner, and cause of death. So I look at the body and I decide what caused the death. The manner of the death is either going to be natural, accidental, suicidal, homicidal, or undetermined. Those are the 5 categories by law I can come up with. And I have to do, the law allows me to get every piece of information that I can, that I want, in order to make that determination. Understand that the coroner's office does not determine criminality. Let me explain what that means. If a police officer is inside of a bank and 3 armed robbers come in and there's gunfire exchange from the bank robbers, and the officer returns fire and shoots the bank robbers, for me, that's homicide. That is the act of one person causing the death of another person. So even though it was a gunfight, a gun battle with the police, he would still be listed in the coroner's office as a homicide, but he would go to the DA's office to determine whether or not there's criminality. Everybody? Okay. So I'm allowed to gather all the information that I need. And in this case, it was unusual. I got the call, similar to what Chief Raymond did. I got the call and went to the scene along with my investigator, Greg Clements, who was out there, to investigate this shooting and the officer involved in the shooting. And when I got there, the crime scene people had just started to arrive. The paramedics had already left. Mr. Childs was dead. He was covered up at the time. Media had started to gather around. I did my observations to find out where everything was and get history of what had happened and get stories of what had happened to Mr. Childs. I then evaluate the body to determine what the cause of death is. I do a preliminary evaluation. I remove the clothes. I look for whatever injuries that are there. And then the body will be sent for autopsy. When I originally looked at Mr. Childs, I noticed that he had 4 gunshot wounds to his body. One of them was clearly going to be the fatal wound. It was the one in the middle of his chest. The other wounds, I didn't know how serious they were. And I wasn't going to be able to make that determination until we got him to autopsy. The next day when the autopsy was done, it was, to be very honest, just like you people expected, it was very concerning. It was very concerning in that there were 3 gunshot wounds that were to his back and 1 that was to the middle of his chest. The concerning part was the middle one, the gunshot wound in the middle of the chest was a near gunshot wound, near contact gunshot wound, meaning that it was fired somewhere between 1 and 3 inches away from his chest. It was just right here. So I was concerned of the officer shooting, and there were 3 gunshot wounds to the back, and then a near gunshot wound to the chest. My concern was, did the officer get that close to Mr. Childs and shoot him?
Hey man, they
That was my first concern.
just fucked up.
Then I had to get the information to decide what the truth was, where it actually came. What I was able to do was to get the dash-cam videos that were done, the witness reports that were done, the evaluation that I did, all of the police reports for the police that were involved, to reconstruct the scenario of what happened. And they were all consistent. All of them were consistent the exact same way. Officer Brooks was traveling down the road and he saw Mr. Childs walking down the road. Hands sagging, something in his hands looked like it may have been a beer. The officer then turned on his lights, turned around, and started to come back towards Mr. Brooks, towards Mr. Childs. Mr. Childs threw something, I don't know if it was at the vehicle, but threw something out the street and took off running to the field. The officer then turned the vehicle around and went into the field and gave chase to Mr. Childs. Mr. Childs ran up to a fence and attempted to jump over the fence. The officer pulled his vehicle close to, about 25 feet or so away from Mr. Childs, and got out of the vehicle. You can see this on the dash cam video. He initially pulled out his taser and came around the back of the vehicle from the cover that he had in the vehicle, pulled around the back of the vehicle and approached Mr. Childs with his taser. You hear the officer yell, "Hey, hey, hey, hey," and he pulls back around the vehicle and to take cover. At that time, he drops his taser, pulls his gun, and yells, "Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun." You hear Mr. Childs say, "Shoot me," and there are two shots fired. Boom, boom. Right there. You can hear it on the video. At that time, Officer Brooks was at the back of his vehicle. You can see him on the vehicle where he shot. He's at least 25 feet away from where Mr. Childs was. Two shots fired. He retreats back behind the side of the vehicle and then pulls back out and says, drop the gun, shoots 3 more times. He pulls back behind the vehicle to take cover and starts yelling, starts radioing in, shots fired, blah, blah, blah. He goes through the whole radio scenario.
He shoots 3 more times.
Was that, he shot 3, he shot,
Said
shot. As far as we know, Mr. Childs only shot 1 round. And I'll explain that when we get to that point. So he pulls back around, shot fired, officer needs assistance, etc. Pulls back around, shot 4 more times. Drop the gun, shot 4 more times. With that, he pulls back in the vehicle, pulls back around the end of the vehicle, and he's standing there when the first officer arrives. And from what I can see, the first officer was Officer Bryant. Officer Bryant got there. He said Officer Brooks was still standing at the back of the vehicle with his gun drawn, pointed at Mr. Childs. Mr. Childs was on the ground with a gun in his left hand and still breathing. Officer Bryant kicked the gun out of his hand, and then they ended up cuffing Mr. Childs, waiting for the arrival of everything from the other people, the ambulance and the other people first.
So where did he shoot?
Excuse me, I saw a video.
Let him finish, y'all. Let him finish.
I saw a video of him running.
Mays, get order.
And he had his pants held up by his right hand.
Would y'all
Like
please,
he's running.
hold on 1 minute. The way the meeting is being conducted, we're gonna have an opportunity for each one to question and answer. So let's conduct the meeting in the way from which we have it established. We appreciate that very much, but let's get some information. We apologize because Councilman Green was supposed to be bringing us the videotape to look at as well, but they did show it before the council meeting. So let's allow them an opportunity to at least explain before we interject. We got plenty enough time for anybody that want to ask some questions, and they're going to answer the questions for which you have to ask. But let's do it in a civil and have civil dialogue. Thank you very much, God bless you.
Can we refrain from using pronouns?
Give me what?
Can we refrain from using pronouns?
And call their names, call Mr. Childs.
Refrain from using pronouns, please.
Well, if I may articulate an individual's name, to just say, I would like for, because Dr. Turner he's painting a whole big picture, and within that picture, I got a bunch of questions. So, I'm trying to see, I guess he can talk all night if he's trying to defend what has been presented. And I'm not trying to be antagonistic.
What we're saying is instead of saying he, just identify the
I
individual's
think it's
name.
something if it's still under investigation, I know there are certain constraints.
Oh, investigation over. It's over with. Investigation over.
To speak,
Thank you, just say.
to speak as to who's speaking and what point in time.
Going around, and he's doing this. I don't know which.
I apologize, because at this point in time, Mr. Childs is on the ground, he's not doing anything at that point in time. When I said he, it's going to be Officer Brooks, because he was the only one moving at that point in time. So, trying to figure out where I was.
If I can help you,
Yeah,
because that's where I had a big question.
yeah,
You said they had a handcuff. So
that's,
if he was handcuffed, how was he shot in the back? What?
no.
I think that's
Once the second officer arrived, he removed the gun and then handcuffed him, that's probably. So he was already on the ground and shot, and that's when that handcuffed him out.
Okay, we said this on Facebook and publicly, and we're gonna say it again. I'm a man of order, and we asked the public to come out. I called this meeting. We got the people here. They're gonna allow you an opportunity to voice your opinion But we won't do the shouting. We're not gonna leave this meeting saying that it was just a bunch of shouting and hollering. Never this kind of meeting. We want to get to solutions. We want answers. I spoke with all of these gentlemen up here. We want answers. You're gonna have that opportunity to question them, and we're gonna move on. But we want answers to our questions. We don't want hollering, we don't want shouting. Raise your hand, I'll send somebody to you when the question and answer session begins. But please, ma'am, and please, sir, and all the Facebook watchers and all the people that's watching that, please, ma'am, and please, sir, respect what we are asking you to do. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. It seems like people are less interested in the details and more interested in the major parts of it. And I'll give you the major parts of where the decision came from. There were 3 witnesses that were interviewed. I listened to their interviews with the police department and their descriptions of the terms of what exactly happened. They were all fairly consistent of what happened. Nobody said that they saw Mr. Childs with a gun, but they did say that they saw him fumbling in his pocket and turned around. Things that were consistent were all 3 of the witnesses said the officer never got within 20 feet of Mr. Childs. The fatal gunshot wound was fired within an inch of his chest. And Mr. Childs had a gun in his hand that had fired a round, a 9mm round. That gun went for ballistics and showed that it was shot. The video does show that Mr. Childs said, "Shoot me," when that first 2 shots were fired. So the only person who could have fired the fatal shot was Mr. Childs himself. Now, subsequently, there were a total of 8 shots fired by the police officer. And the police officer states that he shot those rounds because Mr. Childs was still rolling on the ground and had a gun in his hand, and he thought there was a threat. And I'm going to leave that part. How could he have a gun in his hand? About police policy and procedures, because I'm not an expert in police policy and procedures. But what I am an expert in is the forensics of this, what happened. And the 3 shots that he had, 2 of the 3 shots that were hit by the officer, 2 of them were superficial. 1 of them went in the back, went through his right upper lobe, the left upper lobe was long, and went to the top part of his shoulder. For those of you that know me, you will know that I've worked for 25 years as an emergency physician at the level 1 trauma center. That wound would have been survivable. The gunshot wound that was done near contact in the middle of his chest punctured both his heart and his aorta and his trachea and was unsurvivable. So the self-inflicted gunshot wound was the one that killed him. So for whatever reason, and it's not my job to determine police policies and procedures, he committed suicide during the confrontation with a police officer. Now the question arises, would he have committed suicide had he not been approached by a police officer? And I can't answer that question. But he was armed, he had a gun, he had a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest. He did have 3 gunshots wounds to the non-fatal from the officer. So my job, once again, as I told y'all before we even started, is to determine the time, manner, and the cause of death. The time was okay, we know what that was, we know what the cause of death was, and the manner, the only fatal wound was self-inflicted, so the manner was suicide. I put my entire package after the full investigation together and was referring it to the DA's office for review, because I'm not an expert in policies and procedures. Like I told you before, if there's a bank robbery and there's a shooting, one person killing another person is a homicide. Criminality is determined by the DA's office, not by the coroner's office. So I referred it over to the DA's office, and he said because it was a suicide, there was no reason for him to review it. And I let the DA's office discuss that. But my part of it was only the forensics part. And the investigation was very clear to me. There was no other scenario. It was bore out by the witnesses, non-police officer witnesses, citizen witnesses that saw it, and the forensics that were there. It's an unfortunate situation that it happened like that. There's no way that I could have known or anybody else could have known his medical history or what else happened. But that was what happened from a forensic standpoint and from a coroner standpoint. And I'll be happy to discuss that and take questions.
Right here.
Or whoever else talks. But
Right here.
do you want to get questions at this point in time?
Sure.
The DL
Thank you for that.
That's who we look
I
at.
can-
It's the person from the district attorney's office, call her name, Ms. Nigeria.
That's Miss Monique, what you want me to
Ms. Monique, James is out of town, and he said he was sending Ms. Monique in order to stand in place for the district attorney's office. So, we've been waiting on her to get here, and she's evidently not here as of yet. But when she gets here, we want her to come up front, we all know her, send her up front.
You know, with all due respect, what they said, I can be philosophical and analytical about what's happening. However, there seems to be a pattern across America, and Shreveport is no different than any other city across the nation. Too many young African American men are being shot at, and police officers, and we know that we have Nazis and all kinds of vigilantes that hide behind the badge, and we have an internal affairs office that does investigation. I don't think you can get real justice if you investigate yourself.
Right.
I think the best solution for Shreveport as a nation to bring in the U.S. Justice Department and investigate not only this crime, but every other crime that no police officer has never been justified a homicide in this city. Never. So we do have bad, good police officers. I respect them. They go to our churches, they attend our schools. Great men and women. But you got some people that the fire department, let me say police department, are vigilantes behind the badge. And hopefully, I don't think we can get the respect from the investigation here because we oftentimes it's rigged in the interest of the police. So I think in order for us to be effective and transparent, we need to bring in outside people. The city council needs to pass a resolution along with the commission to bring in the U.S. Justice Department and investigate, and everybody don't have to worry being like public intimidated, don't have to worry about being bullied, don't have to worry about your position as a city council or commissioner or chief or mayor, whatever the case may be, because we got an outside opinion. Because as long as we keep doing it like this, nobody will never be prosecuted on that police department that's here in black people in the city. It's not going to work. Because it's rigged. It's rigged by economic, social status, color, race, black, white. We have people that have white privilege that sit up in these churches that don't do anything when we see injustice going on. It's not right. Poor people don't have the resources to fight the government. So we have to have a government that frees us of everything we've done to speak up for us because they preach the United States Constitution every day. So hopefully we will listen and follow the pattern of what happened in St. Louis, what happened in Baltimore, Chicago. They brought in the Justice Department. They gave a solution how we can make peace with one another, live in harmony, and make a closer connection to the generation. We don't do something that gets some real meat and muscle to address this problem. It ain't gonna get no better, it's gonna get worse. We have to build confidence in the criminal justice system. It's not right for black people. Look at the disparity. These are not my numbers, these are the numbers of FBI in the city of Shreveport. The young black men have been shot at the hands of officers every day in this community, in the nation. It's not right. So my solution to this group here would be, let's ask our councilmen and ask our commission to bring in the U.S. Justice Department to investigate not only this, but the other young African-American men been shot. Thank you.
Okay, Chief Raymond, if I may follow up to what former Commissioner Williams has stated with regard to just the general tenor across the country, to what degree, if at all, the Shreveport Police Department has had cultural sensitivity training with your officers with regard to, you know, just engaging people on the street. Now, we know that there was a call, so you know that there was a crime in action occurring, right? So, but what I heard was that was rationale or the reason for the officer to pursue after him. But is there any training at some point where if the officer know, okay, so no crime has been committed, he's sagging. I know there's an ordinance to support that at the parish level, but to what, how high of a priority is you know, wound up pursuing after shooting somebody because they were sad. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know that he was in the
Your question, couple of amendments to it. It's a city ordinance passed by Shreveport City Council more than a decade ago, I don't know the exact year, which meant that it was called upon by council. I can only assume it means citizens asked for this to be passed. It is a violation of the law. And as officers, our job is not to determine whether we should or should not enforce a specific law. It is to enforce the law without discrimination, without prejudice,
And it is a law, we get a lot of complaints from citizens still about people sagging. People don't want to see another's undergarments. And I assume that's why the law was passed. It was during my time as a police officer, I saw the law coming to me, and I seem to remember at the time there was a lot of talk in the community that we're tired of looking at people's undergarments. Council was approached, the law was passed. This officer was simply enforcing statute and ordinance, in this case, on the books. Now, to just go on from that, Anthony Child was in possession of a stolen firearm. So by enforcing a city ordinance, he was apparently in possession of an illegal firearm.
But you didn't know that till you were dead.
At the time. The officer did not know that at the time. But I do want to clarify that this wasn't a gentleman that was walking around with pants sagging and shot by a police officer. This is a person who was violating city ordinance. The officer was doing his job. He was going to be stopped, and had he cooperated, not been in possession of an illegal weapon, he would have been told, sir, look, you put your pants up, the belt on. It probably would have been much like that. He ran from the police officer, he produced a weapon, and then he shot himself with that weapon.
Okay.
And during that confrontation, produced a threat. The officer obviously saw him pulling the weapon from his pants, believed that his life was in jeopardy. I've got a copy of the video. If you want to watch it, we certainly can. It's obvious from the video the officer felt for his life. He jumped behind the vehicle and thought he was being shot at on numerous occasions. And he made statements when other officers showed up. He's got a gun. He shot himself. Be careful. He's still got a gun. He's still got a gun. He was warning other officers. It was obvious, in my opinion, that he believed that this was a lethal threat.
Okay.
Right. So very briefly, the purpose of the meeting also is to allow the public to ask questions, and we want to get some information from them to you all. So we want to do it civilly. So I saw Brother Lester raise his hand first, and then after that, Brother Marvin, and we're going to move on down the line.
Okay.
We're going to let NAACP president be able to say something, and also
My question is,
we're going to let everyone.
I got three things I want to expound on. I got three things I want to expound on. First, the chief said, there were 9 shots fired. 9 shots. He was hit with 4. Okay. Now, it has to be a 5th shot, a 10th shot, if the officer fired 9 times. And my thing is, where did the 10th shot come from? The one that's supposed to kill him. And the second thing, I disagree with you. We don't have to train police officers when it comes to black people. We don't train our officers when we sit in this one lady. They know better than to go over there and shoot white folks.
That's right.
So when they come in our community, we got to train them not to shoot us. We've got to stop making excuses.
Exactly.
No disrespect, police officers. We've got to stop making excuses for police officers and stop hollering about civil rights and damn it, give us some natural rights.
Yes.
We got a right to live like anybody else. No, I'm not fussing at you, sister. I'm just speaking. I'm not fussing at you. But I'm just saying, this man was running.
That's right.
He did not throw anything. He dropped a beer can. He had an open container, running with his pants like this.
That's right.
And he dropped the container, and the video shows it. And we see the shots, like you say. 2 shots. Bow, bow. And a pause. Bow, bow, bow.
No shot.
Bow, bow. Those were the 9 shots. Now, when did Mr. Child fire his shot? Because they were the same sign. The same sign. Now, unless he's shooting the same thing that the officer was shooting, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem.
Yes.
You know, and we can have all these meetings we want to have.
Yes.
If we're not going to get up off our butts and demand something, not only from our black officers, the mayor, this so-called NAACP, because we got too many misleaders. Lead us, say they lead us, but they mislead us, and we going to hell.
That's right.
So we got to get away from this foolishness and get some serious business and some serious results, because saying that we got to train police, we've been saying that since back in the 80s. We got to train police officers how not to shoot us. We're the only people got to train police officers how not to shoot us.
Mr. Lester, thank you. Thank you so much.
I mean, they want to make a disruptive comment
Right. So let me interject for 1 minute. We want to keep our comments directed toward getting answers and solutions. We don't want to throw anything out there against anyone. We want to keep it constructive. So, yeah, coroner, would you respond to the question?
Send the mic back.
Did you say T-shirts with it? The first thing I want to say is, just so you guys know, Parish Coroner's Office has no affiliation with the police department or the sheriff's department.
Steve, you have
We are a
T-shirts.
freestanding
have to
office
have
set up by the Louisiana legislature. I don't have a separate office. I don't have, I share information with them, they share information with me, but we have no affiliation. And the information that I have, the information that I give is non-biased in every case. I give cases, I'm also required to investigate sexual assault and rape cases. Cases that we collect exonerate some people. Cases that we collect convict some people. So the forensic evidence speaks for itself. And sometimes people are guilty and sometimes they're innocent. And that's what my forensic evidence does. And that I'm just as easy to give somebody an exoneration as I am to prove a crime. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not there to prove a crime. I'm there to let the forensic evidence speak for itself. Now, to address the gunshot wounds that he's talking about, the media got one thing wrong on Mr. Child's case. They said the coroner said that the first shot fired was Mr. Child's shot. I never said that. I never could say that because the forensic evidence doesn't hold up for that. I can tell you that it was one of the first two shots because when Officer Brooks came around the corner and you heard him yell, "Shoot me," and he said, "Drop the gun, drop the gun," there were two shots fired. Bam, bam. One of them was shot by the officer, was fired by the officer. One of them was fired by Mr. Childs.
No.
At that point in time, Mr. Childs would have fallen to the ground. Okay? He was standing when those first two shots were fired. When he shot himself in the chest, he went down to the ground. The officer then testified that he still had a gun in his hand and was rolling on the ground, and that's when he fired the subsequent shots. My job was not to determine whether that was proper police procedure. That's up to the police department and the DA. My job was to investigate what happened to Mr. Childs. And that shot that he fired into his chest was one of the first two shots. The shots that were fired, the other seven shots that were fired after that were fired by the officer. And that's just what the evidence shows.
Oh my God.
Behind the news, I think you have a question, and then Anthony Child's grandmother. You next. Really behind the news, stand up, I think you have a question, and then that's the grandmother of Anthony Child.
Oh, okay. Again, I'm representing the Real News Behind the News, and we have a lot of constituents ask questions. And it seems like, I'm going to be real, the more you all talk, the more the story gets confusing. Because the chief is saying that he was pointing the gun at him, but at the same time you get an officer saying, "Show me your hands." So something is not adding up. But one question that a lot of people wanted me to ask, and this is specifically to Police Chief Raymond. Have you ever been involved in an officer-involved shooting? And what was the outcome of that?
Well, we know he killed a black man. Yeah. They just call it what
Yes, I was involved in the shooting in 2001. And an individual wanted for attempted second-degree murder, and ultimately the gentleman took his own life.
So again, when it's mighty convenient to cover up the need for an investigation, these men are taking their own lives. I ask that question because it seems to be a pattern. That's an easy excuse to get away with actually doing an investigation. So what I would like to see is not just blowing out steam, but see that investigation open up again, because it's too convenient for a man to shoot himself. In your case, he was shot 8 times, and the only bullet that killed him, he shot himself. And in this case, he shot himself again. So we have to ask those questions.
I was not involved in the 2001. I didn't come into office.
Yes, sir. We know.
This is Anthony Child's grandmother.
I'm so sorry.
Pushed down and you were pushed in.
Yes, ma'am.
Pastor Mays and
God bless you.
everybody's on the panel. Chief of Police, I have a chance to meet you I don't see the investigating detective that did the investigate. But I've been in fire soaps just at 44 years, and I got to travel that route. Grandson left home. I won't ever see him again. Travel that route, the yellow tag still hanging, but it's visible. Just to listen. He said you handcuffed him when he was down on the ground. Did he die right then, or they handcuffed him dead, or what happened? Was he dead when he hit the ground?
Very shortly after that. He was dead when he hit the ground. But he had suffered a wound that he was not going to survive. It shot him through the heart.
My name is Marvin Muhammad. I have and my question is directed to the coroner. Despite what he's saying, he is in fact the most powerful man in this room.
Exactly. Only one that can arrest the sheriff.
He actually has arresting powers for the Caddo Parish sheriff.
Yes, he do.
Secondly, in his opening statement, he said these words. He said the Caddo Parish DA said it was no longer a need to go any further because he ruled this situation a suicide. So my question is to the coroner. Also in your initial statement, you said that the bullet pierced his lung and his aorta. So my question is, how can a bullet, the second shot that was fired by your testimony, can pierce his aorta, yet he's still holding a gun in his hand? Second of all, as the coroner, you said you're dealing with the scientific evidence. So my question is, will you release evidence, or did you test his clothing? Did you test his hands for gunshot residue? Because if he shot a weapon, then there would be residue on his hands, and there also be residue on his clothes. And also, lastly, because this whole thing deals with him, not Chief Raymond, not Mayor Perkins, but the coroner. Trust me on this. And then my last question is what was the pattern of the bullet that you say that fatally shot him? Thank you.
Okay. And fair questions. And the statement about me being the most powerful man, I'm not really.
That's right. You're not.
Yes.
Can you arrest the sheriff?
Yes, he is.
We all have a job to do, and I have my job to do. Your question about the forensics part of it, and I don't want to get too detailed. If you've ever fired a gun, what happens is the firing pin hits the bullet, the powder goes off, and it starts burning, and the gases push the bullet out the end of the gun. Does that make sense?
We do. We understand.
When a barrel is 5 inches long, as that bullet comes out, it doesn't give enough time for all the powder to burn. So what happens is, if you ever see a gun fired, you see smoke and fire come out of the end of the barrel. Well, what happens is, a near contact gunshot wound, one that's shot close to you, has tattooing in it, where that unspent powder goes into the skin and burns the skin.
That's right.
You get soot around the edges. If you get 18 inches to 2 feet away firing a gun, no burnt powder shows up. So we call that a distant gunshot wound. So we have contact gunshot wounds, near contact gunshot wounds, intermediate wounds, and distant wounds. Distant wounds, I can't tell you whether they happen from 5 feet away or 50 feet away, because there's no forensic evidence. The 3 gunshot wounds that he suffered to his back that were non-lethal were distant gunshot wounds. The one in his chest had tattooing and soot, meaning it was fired from 1 to 2 inches away. All of the witnesses that saw that said Officer Brooks never got within 20 feet of Mr. Childs. And Mr. Childs had a gun in his hand when he was found. It was a 9mm that had been fired, and it went to ballistics. And the North Louisiana Criminal Ethics Lab did a report, said yes, that gun was fired. The casing that was there was fired from that gun. So the report was done. The crime lab is another independent test. So the evidence that I collected went to the crime lab. The crime lab verified what we did. The witnesses that were there, one of them was just a child, 13, 14-year-old child that they had on tape. All were consistent of what happened. The chase there, Mr. Childs going to the fence, Officer Brooks coming around the corner of his car but never approaching Mr. Childs, the gunshot wounds that were fired, Mr. Childs down on the ground. I'm not going to speak about police policy and procedures, and I'll let Chief Raymond do that, but I didn't know before I came coroner that it was policy, what his grandmother, Mr. Child's grandmother was talking about. But I understand the policy, because when I go to a shooting like this, they're almost always handcuffed. And the reason that they're handcuffed is if they're still alive, they're a threat. So the policy is to remove the gun, get them away from the gun, and handcuff them. Now,
we look at you say moving away from the gun, a gun that allegedly
Second
found
officer
that was allegedly found 20 hours later. So what gun did we move him away from?
The gun was there when I was there. When I got to the scene, which was just a few minutes after the shooting, the gun was right there by Mr. Child. It was not even collected into evidence at that point in time. Officer Bryant was the one that testified that when he got there, the gun was in his left hand, and he removed it from his left hand, kicked it away from his left hand, and cuffed Mr. Childs. All of it was consistent.
Chief Raymond, is it true or not true that you had to send officers back out to the scene to locate the weapon the next day?
No, sir. Officers did go back to the scene the next day because it got dark and they wanted to make sure they located all shell casings. So they held the scene overnight until the next morning so they could use daylight to assist them in their searches. But it was not the final weapon. The weapon was found, as the doctor told me, that immediately upon officer arrival.
The grass was high. They went back looking for shell casings.
Did they find them?
Yeah.
And they did locate additional shell casings that were following that.
You say he received 3 shots in the back. How would that be if he's laying down pointing a gun at the officer?
Or still acting as a threat?
I'm going to let Chief Raymond discuss that, but the testimony from Officer Brooks was that he was rolling on the ground with the gun in his hand. And that Officer Brooks still felt as though he was under threat. And he yelled, drop the gun, and fired.
Do you find that that's normal for a person shot in their heart, in their aorta, to keep being able to roll around?
Yeah, what happens is when you get shot through your heart, what you see on TV does not actually happen. When somebody gets shot through the heart, people don't just fall down. People can be charging you and you can shoot them with a gun right through the heart and they can keep charging you. Because what ends up happening is it has to be a point where your brain is deprived of oxygen. And as long as it's like cutting your blood flow off to your head, you'll stay conscious for 10 or 15 seconds, even if you cut your blood flow off to your head. It has to be a point where your brain is no longer receiving oxygen and glucose that you pass out. So just because the pump was shot doesn't mean that the blood wasn't still there and he wasn't still conscious.
So people don't feel it when they get shot? They don't feel pain when they get shot?
Yes, they do feel pain, and most of the time they lose consciousness. Even though they're moving around, they're not aware of what's going on. And I can tell you that from my years at the trauma center. Because people that get shot that come into me that we saved, we're able to save, you ask them what's the last thing they remember, and they say, I think I got shot. They don't remember anything after that. If you were in a car wreck,
I remember when I got shot.
Yeah, can we do this, y'all? Very briefly, let's do this. We want to allow her an opportunity, then you can ask your question, brother. Let's give this sister an opportunity, and then we got you.
I want to first thank the police department for coming out to answer the question. It's not all the police that are bad. We need the police department, but we don't want to be killed that's why sad. See, it sounds like because he was sad that he was shot. He did. Now I have some personal questions saw the video, he was running for his life. And he had his hand on his right hand. See, I'm from the hood. And if you holding your pants up, you don't stop and say, I'm gonna shoot myself. See, we got to recognize what's going on here. Then I have a problem with certain police. See, I want to ask Mr. Rain, where you from? Where do you live, Mr. Rain? You the chief?
I am.
Where you live?
I'm not gonna give you my address.
Blanchard. I don't want your address. Do you live in Blanchard or Hall? Because if you live, you shouldn't be chief of police running around here if you don't live in this vicinity. See, I got some problems with what's going on here, and I got some problems.
With all due respect, we don't want to attack.
We're not attacking, but we want the truth to come out. We're not attacking, but we want the truth to come out. And this is the corners. My question to the corners. My question to the corners, sir. I listened to you very good, and you were telling what the coroner's job is. And do you think we that dumb that we don't know what a coroner do? I don't think y'all come out here to really teach us and tell us what happened. Y'all come out here to play game. But game time up. Now, I heard, and I don't know how true it is, but we got racist police that willing to shoot black folks down while walking while black. And so I'm kind of confused at this here because this seems like a sham that has come out here to study program our mind to believe that boy was shot down. Now, if he was shot down and he was running holding his pants, he gonna stop and say, "Who I believe I shoot myself."
I just have a couple of questions and a couple of comments.
Yes, ma'am.
And I apologize, I really was trying to get here, so I might ask or say some of the same things.
Are you Ms. McGuire?
First of all, I've known Anthony Child since, I'm not a blood relative, no. I've known him since he was a small child. And anybody that watched that clip would see that this young man was no threat to anybody.
No threat.
He was running so fast, it looked like it was in fast forward. Running for his life. The first problem I have is being chased after by the police for no reason at all. None. Then, when the cameras is showing Anthony running, the cameras is on Anthony. What happened to turn the cameras the other way when the shooting was done? When the murder went down. Number one, I want to know from the coroner, I didn't hear this, you say he was shot in the heart. Was he shot in the center, the left, or right?
Center.
In the center. Anthony was left-handed. He was running very fast, holding his pants with the others. 7 shots. 2 say put the gun down. That never happened, and we know it didn't. What we did is we closed his case before we even tried it.
That's right.
We closed it before we tried it.
That's right.
It's an injustice for a young man to be shot down to the ground. For sad. We don't know the real story, but what I do know, what I understand is that officer was out of this area. And that the day before there was a possible encounter between me and Anthony. We just want justice. We want it to run trial. He didn't shoot himself. You shoot yourself and somebody say put it down, you fall and you start to shoot. Not Anthony Childs. He was really a scary person.
Yes, you can tell.
He was a very scary person. He was not a threat to anybody. And I don't know the whole story, but I'm praying on my knees and asking God, let's get a trial against this young man. Because his life was taken for no reason. For no reason. That's all I want to say. I don't believe he shot himself twice. And fell to the once even. I don't believe it. And then something the officer.
Can we, for time's sake, we want to get to everybody. Can we got a 2-minute time limit on so that they can give them opportunity. And listen, let's make this perfectly clear. None of this is a sham. I wouldn't even call them here if it's a sham. We want answers to what's going on in our community. And that's why they're here, to answer your questions. So we ask that we stay civil, let them answer the question. Let them answer the question. And let's get some solutions to some of the problems. So now, this brother back here. Oh, sorry, yes, brother here. Let us, brother. Stand up, yeah.
Before we go on, any questions, I'd like to hear the police chief's version on what's going on, what happened. We need to get everything so we can ask that question. Okay. So he was
mind doing it again? We did it on onset, but if he probably wasn't here, but he did all that. Yeah, let the brother here. Yeah, he was next. Okay, well, let him go here. Okay.
Thank you. Chief Raymond. The young lady did ask, and I guess you were going to respond to why we can see a visualization from this young man for some reason chasing a black man, sagging, and then all of a sudden go to a fence. He can get out the left side and go behind the car, which means he had access to where Anthony went. Why was the vehicle facing the fence?
So the officer pursued Anthony in his vehicle as long as he could. Anthony came to a fence on foot. Now the reason, I can show you the video from the front of the car if you'd like to see it. All you're going to see is a tree.
I've seen the video about 25 times.
Well, I wanted to make sure I answered her question. I thought you were kind of continuing with what she asked. So there are two videos, two dash cam videos. One that sees forward, one that views forward of the vehicle, the hood, and what's in front of the officer, and one that is made to view the rear seat area so that when you have a suspect in custody, you can view what they're doing in the back seat. The officer passes up Anthony and exits the vehicle, which is not uncommon. And so when he exits the vehicle, the front camera only shows a tree in front of him. You don't see any of the incident. It shows a tree, and you can see the corner of the fence, but not the area where Mr. Childs is at this point. Officer passed up Mr. Childs. Mr. Childs was behind his vehicle by the time officer came to a stop. So you actually see Mr. Childs running across the front of the vehicle. The vehicle doesn't stop immediately. It slows down and stops. At this point, Mr. Childs is to the rear passenger of the vehicle. So when I show the video to counsel, I flip the camera too, because camera one, and we'll watch it now if you want, but it's 45 minutes of looking at a tree. When you go to camera two, which is looking at the rear seat, you also have the ability to look at the passenger and driver's side rear quarter panels, and that's when you see the officer's actions, and you see what happened there.
You're missing the question.
Okay, yes, sir, I am.
Okay. We see in the front dash everything. When he gets into the field, sir, his car can follow Anthony in the direction he was going in. So when Anthony was going right past him, why did he turn that vehicle toward the individual that he shot to kill?
He wasn't trying to keep Anthony in front of his vehicle. He was trying to get out and apprehend him.
Why not?
The officer didn't know what was about to occur. He wasn't thinking, let me make sure I get a good video of something that may happen. The officer's thinking, let me get out of his vehicle and apprehend this person that's running that's violated a couple of ordinances at this point. So he wasn't thinking, let me position the video so that I get good, position the vehicle so that I get good video in the event that something happens. He was thinking, let me get out of the vehicle and apprehend this running suspect at this point.
Okay, I got two more questions. The second question, was this officer driving with a suspended license in December when he got into that accident, a police car?
Was he driving a suspended license in this incident?
No, in December 2018, he got a ticket. He got into an accident, and he had a suspended license. Was he driving a Shreveport police car either prior that month or November? Was he driving a Shreveport police car with a suspended driver's license?
I would have to check. I'm not aware of that. I have to check.
But you do know that there was an incident that he had an accident with a suspended driver's license, right?
To be honest with you, I don't remember that. I'm not saying it did not.
He's done a review with your
Well, if he's under review, it has not come to my attention yet. I get it at the end of the review process.
Okay, one last question. Okay, on the television, for which they give wrong information, it was stated that there was a suspicious call in, the reason why Officer Brooks was in that area, and that was the reason why he was there. Did the people who make the call say that Anthony fit the description of the person that they were looking for?
I don't believe he was on a specific call. He was called proactively policing. So he was patrolling his neighborhood and noticed the violation of city ordinance, which was wearing the pants below the waistline. It wasn't a call from a citizen.
I'm sorry, one question. How many people do you arrest sagging on a weekly or monthly basis?
I have to hold you back. I don't know from memory.
But can you do you get that a lot?
It's not uncommon to stop a person for wearing pants below the waistline. No, I don't know how many arrests you make, but it's a summonable offense.
And then we got the young lady over there.
You next, baby. You next.
Yeah, you next.
First, I want to say, when you keep repeating what you've already said, it's like you're trying to indoctrinate us how you want us to think.
Yeah.
You said what you said, and you keep repeating. The other thing is that I know nobody here except Anthony Williams. I have no family in this city, and after I saw this family crying at the city council meeting, I decided to come and say my experience with Mr. Brooks, the police officer, how his family calls him for people they don't like. And his grandmama called him, and he sat outside my door with his dash can running, and that's the same night that somebody got killed at this Right Aid or Right something, alcohol place on Russell Road and whatever that is. He was sitting on my driveway. She has called him for several people. My neighborhood is only 1 block long. You can probably tell I'm not from Shreveport, but when they don't like people or you're different, they use this bullying tactic. My website, I have Mayday, please help save my life. I've been recording the bullying. I think we have a corporal, can't think of his name. He brought a lineup for me to identify people that break in houses, and ever since that, I have had trouble. So speaking up doesn't always help, and I'm old. My daughter is 51. So I'm not here to play game, and I don't like to, I'm upset because it's unfair that you know, do your job. And here I'm holding a cell phone. I called the police because the neighbor came from across the street and slapped my cell phone out my hand. And when I called the police said, well, don't you have insurance? Yes, I do. I've been Verizon since 2004. I have insurance, but I'm still praying how I want to deal with it. And then she came about a week later and did something else. It is repetitive bullying. It's not fair. And then Barbara Jordan, somebody slapped her phone out, according to the news, in the elevator at the casino, and that person was prosecuted. What makes Barbara Jordan better than me? I got tricked into moving in the MLK area, trying to be part of the solution. I have 2 degrees, one in ministry, one in law, and I'm not able to help and hear these people with this phony religion. Again, my website is lawpolice.org, and I'm telling how you use people.
Thank you. Thank you, we're going to give everyone an opportunity.
The police did not help me,
yes,
and that emboldened them to keep.
So we're going to take all that up with them. If there's anything that you want to plead your case, we'll take all that up with them afterwards. But let's give everyone an opportunity to at least speak.
Let me say this. I started in law enforcement in 1988 as a cattle sheriff deputy under the leadership of Don Hathaway. And one of the things that they taught us in the academy that if we pull that gun out that holster, we better make sure that situation deemed deadly force. We used to have to write incident reports when we pulled our gun, even if we didn't use it. Now my thing, I've been knowing Charles, my auntie adopted him when he was 2-3 years old. He's very, very timid and scared. He's not the type of person to be aggressive. I knew that about him. I couldn't talk about a person that I didn't know. But when I saw the video and I saw him running, you know, my thing was as a police officer, former police officer with 20 years, I had to pull my gun once and I didn't use it. But when I see in the community and I have people and friends and family ask me who have kids now, even I have kids and grandkids. When they go out, we got to teach them how to conduct themselves when they're dealing with the police. Even myself, even though I don't wear a badge now, if I get pulled over, I already know that there's a process that if I don't conduct myself in a certain way, that this thing can go real bad. It can escalate. So as I saw him running, I'm asking myself, okay, what situation deemed deadly force if this person is running away from you? Okay, being shot in the back.
Come on now.
That was a concern for me too, being shot in the back. And I listened to the officer. The officer paused, and then he shot again. He kept shooting. This is the thing that from my training and my understanding. When a bullet leaves a gun, it's gonna hit a target, or it's gonna keep traveling until it loses its velocity. When you just go into a community and you can shoot at random and kids and houses and stuff like that around, bullets travel. And all of us as parents, we're not gonna bring childs back. I'm here because I want to see some solutions, and it goes with our leadership starting. It goes with our law enforcement leadership. It goes with our political leadership. You cannot change law enforcement from the outside. It's not designed that way. If that was the case, it couldn't serve us as citizens because it could be easily manipulated by the citizens. So law enforcement has to be changed, and their policies and procedures and their training has to be changed from the inside, and it has to be implemented by our leaders. When you see in America, the only people that are being gunned down look like you, that's a problem. And when you have law enforcement training and you realize that when you're looking at a situation and you know every step that this officer could have taken that he didn't take to preserve a life. When you kill someone, you don't come back from dead.
That's right.
You don't. And when you come into when my son, I have a son and grandson, when they go out, I'm just like, parents come ask me all the time, okay, what is it? What's going on? Why is it now all of a sudden that they shooting before they try to find out? From what I can understand, the officer was in the area based on a suspicious person.
That's what it says.
So there wasn't a crime committed. There was a suspicious person. So when Charles started running, I know Anthony. I know him. He's just like the lady said. He's very timid. He was running for his life. I can't explain why he had a gun on him. I can't explain all that. I can't. But I do know this. As parents, all of us in here, parents and grandparents, we're concerned about our children. We're concerned about our community. We're concerned that when the police come down, and I got friends that are still in law enforcement, that are good officers. And when we look at some of the things that are taking place, when it comes to deadly force, we used to carry, they gave us, when they trained us, we had PR-24s, we had mace, we had a firearm, and we had batons. They would tell us that if we were in a situation, you had all these other things to use before you went to deadly force. Now, they go straight to deadly forces in a lot of cases. And a lot of times, if the officer's life is in danger, you have to. I'm speaking from experience. I'm not trying to justify. I just know that we as a community, here in Shreveport and in this nation, until we start putting people and getting people in office that's going to be concerned about our welfare, we're going to continue to have this problem. It's not going to change.
We haven't even meetings again.
It's not going to change. So when we have people that we put in these offices that we elected to serve us, we need to make sure that they have our interest.
Thank you.
We need to go into these academies and see what kind of use of force that they're training and teaching them now. It needs to be evaluated. If there needs to be some change, it needs to be toward. We need to put people in our community that understand. Community policing, they came out in the 80s. Most police don't want to live in the communities where the high crime is, because after you get out of work every day, you don't want to have to come home and somebody knocking on your door. So they don't live in our community anymore. So we have to work with the police. We have to find out what's going on, because any one of us can get pulled over in a minute and make a wrong move reaching for your papers, and from the way it look, they pull in and shoot. So we got to talk solutions now. They don't have all the solutions.
That's right.
We are, as a community, they used to always tell us there's more citizens than there are police. So if the citizen ever decide to not allow us to police, then we got problems. So okay, then let's help them police and show that, you know what, we got to do some changing. Because I don't like it when my daughters and my son and my grandchildren out going to the store that they call me, I got stopped by police, and y'all hard get the pounding. I never had that to deal with when I was in law enforcement. In the 80s, we had crime then. But we didn't have high volume shots by police officers like we have now. And I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned to the point where I'm not trying to point fingers, but I'm saying
Police Review Board, citizens, normal citizens on a police review board. See, we don't have that. So how do we, since we're talking about, how do we get
the way we get a citizens review board in the city, that's why we asked for the mayor to be here. The mayor can implement along with the Shreveport City Council, because the mayor he appoints the chief of police. So if we could come down to the city council collectively and force these individuals to have a citizens review panel, because I've been doing that for years. I've been asking it for years and years. The coroner knows this. We've been asking for years and years and years for a citizens review panel. We understand that it works in other places, and well, the answer has always been Shreveport don't need a citizens review panel. I even went so far as to go to Baton Rouge to take it to our state legislators to tell them that we need public policy implemented so that we can be protected on every hand. So with that being said, I'm going to open the floor for Lord Thomas because he's on the panel. I promise you, we're going to get everybody. I'm going to get her as well. She's the niece, I think. She's the sister. I'm sorry, she's the sister. Amen. Would you pass this to her, please? Please, she's the sister, and then we get Lord. Sorry about that. We're going to get everyone. That's the sister there.
First of all, Anthony was killed on February 5th. For over 2 months, almost 2 months, nobody can say that. We did several calls, we never knew what happened. We had to show up at a city council meeting to, I guess, to get some answers. But my real question is to you guys today. First, the policy and procedure of when the police is, when they're en route of chasing someone. We were told on the day that when the detective called us to this police station, that Anthony was shot and he fell to the ground. Yes. So how was it that this officer shot 8 more times when he's already on the ground? He was no longer a threat to him. There was no threat. So that I posted with this on my mind over and over again. He was not a threat. How can you make us understand that that was the right policy or the procedure or the protocol? That couldn't have been. He was no longer a threat once he was rolling on the ground. Why did he fire his gun 8 more times after allegedly Anthony shot himself? And he's back on the force. No answer was ever given to us. We never got anything. But this is when we went in, the detective, whatever his name, drew on a piece of paper showing us how it supposedly, allegedly happened, but there was nothing else. We got nothing besides he killed himself. That's all we got. And then when we did get the news, she had to show us the video. When the video was shown, it just showed him the front of the car and then the back seat. But the long video, the original video, showed Anthony was running from a long way. And then for the DA had the nerve to just say, well, I'm not going to reject this and I'm just going to leave it there. Give us a reason why he never said more just on this way, because of this or because of anything. He just said, I'm just not going to look at it. That was a slap in the face of his family. We want answers. We want answers. I have sons. I don't want my sons to be doing this for my sons. It's time to do something different. And what we're doing, we can be here all day long. But it's time to do something different about this. And I want to say this too. I'm not against police officers. I'm against the crooked ones.
That's right.
The ones who use that badge as a way to bully. The ones who use that badge as a way to do things that they shouldn't be doing. I'm not against them. I want to make that clear. But at the same time, we want answers. You cannot make us believe that from the video that you showed us that he killed himself and he was shot 8 times and 3 of them in the back. I have the autopsy report. So you shot him 3 times in the back and you said none of those were life threat. Are you God? Do you know for sure that those 3 would have killed him? You don't know that for sure. You don't know that for sure. You're not God. Those shots that killed, you don't know. You don't know that. But supposedly the bullet that he allegedly shot himself here, it went all the way down his center of his chest, his spine, and came out of his back. And then you handcuffed him on the ground. And he was shot 8 times. I watched the video. I watched it. He was not a threat. Was he a threat? Can you answer that? Was he a threat at that moment? Was he a threat? What if it was your son? What if it was your grandson? A lot of times we think that it's just because of somebody else, we cover up stuff, but what if they come back and knock at your door one day?
It will.
Because what goes around do comes around.
All right, watch out now.
It's not right.
Yes, we do need a solution. We do. But there's no reason why that case should have been rejected and that officer went right back to the streets.
So we do know that, as was stated, we got high passions, family members have lost a loved one, other people know them from the community, and as I'm hearing people say a lot of things that can be solution, and I certainly would want to make sure that those of you who are here this evening, if you're interested, the discussion was about a citizen review panel. I can tell you this as an experienced advocate in legislation and getting laws changed in the state regarding how children are treated, that it's a long process, but citizens, that's a part of the American way, how it was developed, that we can create and write our own laws and rules. We would just have to get some elected a person who will be the champion for it in whatever seat that it is. And certainly we have Councilor Bradford here. I'm not sure to what degree he can commit to anything. I'm not speaking for him. I'm speaking to process. But those of you who are interested in continuing to be part and be involved of solution, please see us before you leave. I'm sorry we didn't have a sign-in sheet, but we would like you to come up and give me your name and contact information so that we can keep you in the loop in the future.
I have a question since you're saying, talking about that. I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Real quick question. Isn't there a law on the book that if somebody breaking in your house and you come up and you catch them and they break and run across the street, that you cannot shoot them anyway? Isn't that a law on the book? Come on now with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, if it's against the law for me to shoot somebody breaking in my house, stealing my stuff, because they're running away, how is the law justified for you shooting somebody that's running away? Let's ask that question.
I don't know that there may be.
I'm asking him.
I know, but we're trying to facilitate.
But we want an answer to that question. We want to know an answer to that question.
But it's about, you can't get answers.
Yeah, would y'all hold on a minute, please? Well, it's not, this meeting is not about not to get answers, but it's a meeting to get answers. And the only way we're going to get answers is that we have to be respectful to one another. People that don't, and I've seen this throughout Shreveport, people that don't want answers to our solutions to problems, they just want to holler. This is not a hollering and yelling meeting. We're here to get answers. To get answers, please. And this lady's been hammering her hand up for a long time.
But we have an answer to the question.
Okay, he's been answering. If we give him an opportunity, I'm Pastor May. If we will give him an opportunity, let's allow them to answer. And then we got her hand bent up, we got him up, them back there bent up, and all of them. They're looking at us like, hey, are you going to give us a chance? So that's what they say over again. Here you go. Go ahead and answer that.
The law of self-defense allows a person to use lethal force if they believe that their life or another's is a threat of serious bodily harm or death.
So how was him running away? Was that the police was in immediate danger if he was running away?
He was not shot while running away. After he was shot and he went to the ground, the weapon was still in his hand, he was still moving around, the officer still perceived the threat based on his testimony, as well as what we saw in the video, the officer was obviously trying to seek cover behind the vehicle. So based on his comments, along with the video we do have, it does appear the officer believed, had reasonable belief, objective reasonable belief that there was a threat of great bodily injury or possible lethal threat to his life.
That's what the officer said.
That's also what the officer said.
No witnesses.
I'd just like to say this. To the family, my heart goes out to you because I know that that is just a heartbreaking thing. But I want us all to remember this. To the brothers, God bless you for being here. To our pastors who stand and ride in the cars, and then to those persons who are sitting across in front of us. Let me tell you, there is crime in the better neighborhood. You never read about it. They don't send 10 police cars out there when the white folks call to say somebody is breaking in. They only send 2 police cars because everybody knows who it is. But when we call, they send 10 police cars.
9 people jump out the car. Yes, they do. 9 people jump out the car with the guns drawn. I live in Allendale, and I know that for myself because I've seen it. We begged and begged and begged to try to get police patrol, tried to get them to get a bike so that they could come around in the community. Did they ever do it? No. So have the police done anything about what happens? So how can we ever move up when the law is written against us? Why would you chase a man with sagging pants? One time they had said that they was going to fine every young man they found walking up and down the street. The city council knew that poor mothers could not afford it, so they just dropped it. Now suddenly, I see some people up there who have never been in a black community by themselves. I've seen some black folk who ain't never been in a black community by themselves. Yes, I do. I remember once upon a time when we had somebody speaking up for us. Number one, we had our pastors. We went to there and said, "Now, Pastor Holden." We had our pastors, Pastor Kimball, who would go and would tell us what to say, how to get your point across. But now something has happened, and that's not happening anymore. I remember when the NAAC was big and bad in Shreveport. I don't know if you know that or not. Now we don't have anybody to talk up. No, we don't. No, you don't. No, we don't. We have somebody that don't have a vision for Shreveport. They don't know how to bring us out of where we are. You're scared to tell the truth, but I ain't scared to tell the truth. If you ain't doing it, you ain't doing it. You're on the school board, you still ain't doing it. They shut down all our schools.
It's the boy thing. And so you'll get this meeting. So it's a very meeting. We need it for our future. Yeah, I like it.
We've elected people who promise they're going to do things, nothing happens. Same old, same old. If it was a white community or a white boy,
yeah, the meeting really not going to do nothing.
It would be 9,000 people up in here.
Community.
Waiting to come in. Yeah.
And when you decide to
crime happen in the white community, yes, it does. But it don't get in the paper, don't nobody talk about it. That's right. They come out there, but we don't see it in the newspaper, we don't see nothing about it. So when something happened in the black community, they put it on Facebook, they say it, they talk about it, until people are afraid to walk the street. Yes, they are. They're afraid to walk the street. So here's what happened. Then when we come, we're so angry. We're so angry we can't even get an answer. Where is our DA? I ain't seen anybody back. We never get something back to tell us. Thank you. Tell him I said. All right, no, he didn't. Is he here? No. Where's James Green? This is sister standing right over there. Don't point me in. The man that was supposed to be elected to be the mayor, they went down to the KFC and eliminated. So he didn't do that. Hallelujah. Talk truth, baby. This man, we went all the way down to Baton Rouge to try to get the laws changed. They wanted to shut down the LSU law department. Why? Because they was helping black people stop the man from putting a dump in MLK. Yeah, it was just right. Yeah. Pastor Holden, Pastor Kimball rides in the car with the police. They have a lot to say. Yeah, We got a new person, new chief. Ask him to stop these people from going in, drawing guns and killing our young men. Yeah. Crime is everywhere. It ain't just in the black community. Crime is everywhere. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you. Blackman is my friend. But I still say, if we don't have nobody speaking up for us, who the world we gonna turn to? Who we gonna turn to? We gotta have somebody that'll speak up for us. Every one of y'all I done seen, I shook your hand and I say it. I'll say it again till the day somebody tells me to shut up. I'm gonna shut up now. But we gotta do this. Fill up that city council. Tell these people, this young man been on the police force for a long time. He know how you used to do. Don't you know how they used to do? There was a time when black folk couldn't even arrest white people. Tell me.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. We do just want to reiterate, though, I have a parking lot over here. Again, there's a lot of passion in the room. A lot of people just making complaints. But I want you to know I'm capturing what I hear as solutions. So please, that's what we looking for, what you can provide. That's a solution. And then see us before you leave. Thank you.
To the family, you have our love and our prayer. You know, this double talk that we hear from our so-called police department, it happens so much because when we start to look at all of the shootings that's going on around America and in Shreveport, see, when we go back and look at Laquan McDonald, shot 15 times as he was walking away. All of this was caught on camera as well. Freddie Gray in Baltimore, riding a bicycle, ended up with his spinal cord severed and his neck broken.
That's right. That's right.
Eric Garner in New York and Staten Island selling loose cigarettes. Choked to death with an illegal chokehold. And this was taped.
Come on now.
And he could be heard saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And they did not release the hold. Sandra Bland, riding through Texas, gets stopped on a traffic ticket, ended up dead while being black. Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge selling CDs to make money to feed his family. Get accosted, he's dead. This called tape. And we're constantly coming to the same people that perpetrate these types of acts on us for justice. So what I'm saying, family, is that the power is in our hands. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, he said that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And as my sister just said, see, when we really start to value black lives, then this place wouldn't be able to hold the people that will come out to demand a change. This book I have in my hand, Minister Farrakhan wrote this book several years ago. It's called Justifiable Homicide, Black Youth in Peril. And it chronicles how the new terminology now is justifiable homicide. That's right. And they put that on murdering us when they come to arrest us. And as Brother Lester said, and I totally agree with him, we don't need no more sensitivity training. It's an insult to say that we have to train police officers not to kill us. That's right. But when they go to police their own, it's with courtesy and manners and proper behavior. That's right. Brothers and sisters, when we decide that we are fed up with this, that's right. And I'm telling you because I work in the community, and I'm hearing the young people. And because of this type of violence and treatment, you are creating a state of fear in people. And when you make people afraid of those who are supposed to be law enforcers, then you're going to set up a vigilante and retaliation type of mentality. I'm telling you what's being said. That's when it's going to stop. Our unity will turn this around. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
First, I want to commend the gentleman sitting there by saying that we do need solutions. And this is particularly for Chief Raymond. We talk about solutions, and we also should be talking about prevention.
That's right.
Mr. Murphy in the wheelchair brought up a question, and so did the young lady there, concerning Officers Brooke being on suspension, driving suspension. He had also been under suspension for obsessive brutality.
Oh my God.
Now, you're the boss. I know you just came in, but let me just ask you this question. Did you know about any of that? Let's let him answer.
I don't remember.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
To be fair, every complaint that our internal affairs bureau works comes across my desk, which is 4 or 5 a day.
Okay.
So I've literally seen a couple of hundred at this point in my career.
But
It's
you didn't-
impossible. Now, the driving under suspension of Officer Brooks, I may or may not have seen that honestly. I'll no problem telling you. I can go back and look, and I'll just contact internal affairs and say, "Did I look at this complaint?"
What about the excessive force?
The excessive force, you said he was suspended for
Well,
excessive
not
force?
suspended, he's under investigation for excessive force.
There was an investigation that came across my desk with his name in it, but it was not for excessive force. It was for, it was recent, so I remember it. And it had to do with a courtesy violation, if I remember correctly, and something else, but I don't believe, I'd have to check back, see if excessive force was one of the concerns or not.
Okay, and let me say this. With that being said, and you're talking about solutions, and a big part of the solution is preventing, wouldn't you think that being under investigation for something like that, particularly when it has to do with the community that he's out there to serve, wouldn't you think by taking him off the streets at that time would have been a prevention for this not to happen?
He was taken off the streets. He was taken off the streets, put on administrative leave.
After the murder.
No, ma'am. Officer Brooks. Officer Brooks was talking about
After Anthony's murder. You said after.
After the murder, he was taken off the street.
After the suicide, he was put back.
He wasn't no suicide.
Let me make it clear what I'm saying. After the driving suspension, after the excessive force investigation, if he would have been taken off of the streets then, wouldn't that have been a prevention in not having this happen? A simple yes or no. In your opinion, your personal opinion.
I can't do a yes or no question. You're assuming a lot of things.
No.
But I can tell you that had either of those complaints been sustained, and I don't remember the driving under suspension, but if it were sustained, that's not going to warrant removing the police officer from the force.
And I'm just actually hearing about Officer Brooks, but I've heard a lot of people say some things. One word that stands out in my mind is the bullying. Do you know this? Have you had any complaints about Officer Brooks concerning bullying? And the community that he patrols?
I don't believe the complaint that I have knowledge of, which was a recent one, I don't remember the word bullying being used.
Okay. Can you share with us what that complaint was?
I cannot.
But what did it warrant him being maybe taken off the streets? And I say this because it's so many different things that are happening. And they talk about solutions. I'm about solutions as well. Because I'm going to tell you what I have to ask myself and what I would ask each of you to think about too. Because when it comes to the police officers killing our people, particularly black people, we come into places like this and we complain about it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like this gentleman said, and the guy just said, here's the thing, what are we willing to do to stop the everyday killing that we're doing to ourselves?
Genocide.
We got to start stepping up to the plate. Until we start protecting ourselves from ourselves,
that's right.
we ain't gonna get it. We are not going to get it. And so I say to you guys, as you sit here, think about that. Ask yourself, what would you, if it was my mother, if it was your mother that had been killed, and it was your friend that was with the guys that did it, would you be willing to take that information to them? We have to ask ourselves that. These are the things we got to do. Thank you.
A question, sir. This is the thing that I learned from acting. What I found out when you put the name out there, the police put their name back out on the street
Now,
and intimidate.
we have been more than courteous in that to everybody. Give everybody an opportunity to say what they need to say. But it's disrespectful to not allow people to get in line an opportunity once you spoke. Everybody got an opportunity to speak. Let them speak, please. I got a bag.
This ain't your first rodeo.
All right. Well, first let me introduce myself. My name is Danny Martin. I am an advocate of the city of Shreveport for over the past 2 years. I'm probably going to be the only person up here to speak around Anthony Child's age. Now, I'm going to start off by saying a solution that was brought up. I'm going to let my sister read this email.
I remember
I remember our conversation, but remember that there is a civil service board that is supposed to save that purpose. If I were you, okay, even after, you want a second paragraph?
Yeah.
Okay, even after all of that, you're still going to have to petition the state to implement the change you're seeking. Not discouraging you, but letting you know that change is outside the mayor's office. If you want your entity to actually have some authority, it's essentially laying out a roadmap. Let me know after you've looked into it and are ready to sit.
And read who it's from.
And it is from our mayor, Adrian Perkins, to Mr. Martin.
Now, what that mean? Explain it.
Basically, it says that the mayor, it is out of the mayor's hand to uphold my, as a question to start a civil service board here in Shreveport. So what I did, I took it upon myself.
Yes, sir.
I went to Governor John Bell Edwards, way in Baton Rouge.
Yes.
I sat down with the boards and commissioners. They said, get back with the mayor. Wow. So it's a bunch of back and forth going on right now to start a civil service board, but I'm not going to give up. Like I said, I'm 35 years old. I'm around the age of Anthony Chavez.
That's good, bro.
And I had my own share of trouble. I have a gunshot right here in my face. So that tells you about my character. I was raised in Shreveport and gonna die right here in Shreveport. I've been fighting for this city for so long, too long. I've seen the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
Over and over. And it says something for my elders to see this, and for me coming up in this generation to see the same thing that's going on to this day. She's being ranked as an interim police chief. You have about 6 to 16 months as an interim, correct?
In 6 months, that won't be 16, then I'll imagine.
Okay. So, since the mayor basically allowed you to be the interim police chief, we can actually, as citizens, go and actually pass a vote to get you out of your seat as chief, right? Now, there's a candidate in here, but I'm not going to say his name, but he's in here.
That's incorrect, sir.
Is it correct?
That's incorrect.
Well, what's the correct one?
The correct way is that the mayor appoints the chief of police. And the city council approves it.
Yeah.
And Craig knows this as well. But we as in order to start a citizen review panel, and then I'm gonna move on and let the next person, because this is a citizen meeting, we want to be fair to everybody. But in order to start a citizens review panel, you notice the people that are not here.
Oh yeah.
You got
Well, the person
hold on one
already
minute. Hold on one minute. Before we go to just going off on all this, the people that are not here is the people who could have made a decision. The district attorney's office is the one that makes a decision whether to prosecute or not. That's who makes the decision.
Yeah.
The DA says after the coroner do his job, he say, here we go. After the police department do their job, in the internal investigation, they said we're going to turn this over to the district attorney's office for review to see is this a criminal charge that needs to be charged against the police department. So what I'm saying is that what we need to do, go ahead, what I'm saying, what we need to do, brother, is that we need, that's why the councilman stopped you, because what we need to do is we need to focus on solutions, and the way we got to hold people accountable
these are one of the
in the office of the district attorney.
I understand, man.
You gotta have it right.
Okay, can I finish?
Let him finish his work.
Okay, Interim Chief Ben Rainey. What caliber weapon was on Anthony Chavez?
9mm.
9mm. So that means that for it to be close contact, was there an exit wound?
Yes.
There was an exit wound. Was the exit wound was in the same proximity of the 3 shots that was in his back?
Yes. The gunshot wound that was fired from close range was fired left hand, center of the chest, left to right, top to bottom trajectory, exited his back.
Okay, so I want everybody to paint this picture because I've been back there listening, I've been patiently waiting. Let's say I'm rolling on the ground and I take my left hand and I'm rolling on the ground, and I can actually fire a weapon in the center of my chest. Now, I'm a gun specialist. I can break down the gun quick and put it back together. I have numerous weapons. I'm also licensed. But I'm a gun specialist. And for somebody to actually roll on the ground, wouldn't that cause the actual gun to actually fire upward and not towards the center?
The gunshot wound that you're talking about happened with him upright.
Upright.
Him
So
standing upright. So
and you said that it was within the 1 and 3rd shot.
No, it was one of the first two.
One of the first two. So he was already on the ground.
No, standing up. Officer Brooks came to the end with his taser in his hand, pulled back, dropped the taser, pulled the gun, said, "Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun." Boom, boom, 2 shots. While we heard Mr. Childs say, "Shoot me."
So one of the 2 shots.
2 shots, one was fired from the officer, one was fired from the 9mm.
So you just said one of the 2 shots was from the officer and one of them was from Anthony Childs.
Right.
So in that case, it means that the officer fired 2 shots, which basically ultimately means that within the 3rd shot, it was his shot that sent him on the ground.
No. There were 2 shots fired initially, one by the officer and one by the 9mm.
Okay, but you just said the officer fired, boom, boom.
No, I said 2 shots. You can hear on the video, 2 shots, boom, boom. Okay? We know later on the officer fired 3 more and 4 more.
Okay, but I'm going by what you said.
I'm just telling you, 9 total shots fired. 8 .40 caliber cartridges were brought back. 8 fired by the officer. 1 9mm cartridge was fired that was there to the 9 shots you hear on the video. So Mr. Childs shot the shot that shot his chest while he was standing up, then he fell on the ground.
Okay. Well,
that's what happens when you get shot.
Last question. What's the actual police procedure when apprehending a suspect? When you call in to actually say shots fired, do you fire shots first, then say shots fired, or do you fire shots first, then continuously to fire shots, then call in and say shots fired? What's the actual police procedure?
Yeah, there's no procedure. If you fire shots and believe you need assistance or someone else may need assistance, you call for that help. That doesn't mean you may not fire shots after that. You want to get on that radio as quickly as possible that other officers and the medics know what's going on. There's no procedure for that. It depends on the circumstances.
Okay. So within this 9mm caliber round and 3 shots in his back, how many shots was actually on the ground as full of shells was recovered the next day?
There were 9 total casings recovered to account for 9 rounds fired.
Okay.
All right. Due to time constraint, we ask that you would hold it for 2 minutes. Some of the questions are being asked over and over and over again. I mean, it's okay, but we want solutions. So we want to give everybody a chance as well. So I think they passed somebody, my sister, man, we don't want to miss nobody. So let's get this running.
Yes, my question is, when the officer first encountered this gentleman,
as pastor,
and why did he call for backup?
Why did he or why did he not?
Why did he not call for backup?
Well, when he first initiated and Anthony began to run, he did get in the radio and advised dispatch, I have one running, which is the same as saying, hey, other officers in the area, I'm in a foot pursuit. It's the same thing as calling for backup.
Okay. So how long did it take that gentleman to get there?
I have to check. It was within 90 seconds to 120 seconds. 1 minute and a half to 2 minutes before the next arriving officer got on scene.
Okay, so because I think I heard when the colonel said that the guy was at the back of the vehicle, Officer Brooks was at the back of the vehicle. Mr. Child was in the front at about 25 feet. Is that correct?
That's right.
He wasn't, Mr. Child wasn't in front of the vehicle. He was off camera passenger side.
Okay. Okay, with that being said, okay, why is it that you said, I think I also heard that he said he could have used the taser, did not use the taser, is that correct, because he wasn't close enough or something?
Well, he came out with a taser, and then he realized he advised the suspect has a gun, which is no longer, we're not trained to fight if somebody has a gun to confront them with a less lethal weapon, because that's a lethal force weapon. And so he dropped the taser and went to a lethal force weapon, which being his handgun.
That's what I was just trying to understand, because it really didn't, to me, if the other officers on the scene, I can't see him as being such a deadly threat with 2 officers and 1 gentleman.
No officer was on scene until after the incident. After Anthony had already shot himself and the exchange of gunfire was over. Then officers arrived on
He
scene.
didn't shoot himself.
And you did hear Officer Brooks telling him he's got a gun in his hand, he shot himself, and carefully got a gun in his hand.
Okay. And also he said, after the gentleman was on the, Mr. Child was on the ground, the other officer came up and kicked the gun out of his hand. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The second round officer came and kicked the gun out of his hand.
All right, we got one more brother. I think I let you spoke already, sister. Yeah.
Hello. For the coroner, I'd like to ask you, do you know the order of the shots that were fired? Who fired first?
Okay, I covered that earlier. The answer to that is no.
Okay.
I do know that at the first confrontation, there were 2 shots fired. Mr. Child only fired 1 shot. So I know of the first 2 shots that were fired, one of them was Mr. Child's and one of them was
How do you know
Officer
that?
Because that's when Mr. Child fell to the ground.
You can see him fall to the ground in the video, or you're going off his?
I'm going off the witness testimony. And it was also witnesses that were at the scene that saw it from Kennedy Street. So that, they're all consistent. Every one of the witnesses were consistent with what happened.
That's cool. I was just wondering, that's off the testimony that you
Yeah. Now, the other 7 shots were fired subsequently by Officer Brooks.
You're basing that off of testimony, not your own.
I saw the video. I saw the video and I heard the shots. And I know that there were 2 shots fired the first time, 3 shots fired the second time, and 4 shots fired the last time. We saw all of that.
But you don't know what the order is really.
Well, no, I know there were 2 volleys and 3 volleys and 4 volleys.
You don't know what the order is between him and Anthony. Who fired first or second?
I mean, I know from witness testimony and from the forensic evidence that the first 2 shots, one of the first 2 shots was with Anthony. I can't tell you from the first one or the second.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay. And was there gunshot residue found on Anthony's hands?
There was no gunshot residue test done. He had a gun in his hand and the gun was sent to the lab. The gun was sent to the lab for evaluation. Yeah. The gun was processed.
So there's no gunshot residue test. You said the bullet struck him in the back. The three of the bullets that the officer shot.
3 of them had a trajectory from the back towards the front.
Sure. And those bullets that struck him in the back, did you do a test to see what angle they came out at? Was it consistent?
We know exactly how it happened.
You can tell?
Yeah, we can
consistent
tell.
that he was on.
When we do an autopsy, we actually trace the track of the bullet from the entrance wound to the exit wound. So we know which one each bullet went through at what angle. We know front to back, right to left, top to bottom, etc. And that's listed in the.
And how did that happen? Where was the officer above him? If he was on the ground?
No, he was farther away, and we know that Mr. Child was on the ground.
No.
Oh, well, he told you tell it, and now he was on the ground when he got shot.
Do you know
Well,
by,
7 shots. This is very specific. That hasn't changed anything.
do you know by the evidence, from your test by the evidence, can you tell by the evidence of where the officer was and where Anthony was, when he was shot? Not by testimony, by your evidence.
We have the videotape of where Mr. Officer Brooks was when he fired all 7 shots. We can see him on video.
But what I'm asking is not where Officer Brooks was, is can you tell where Anthony was and Officer Brooks
Only
was
by where
by your investigation, not by your testimony, by your investigation as the coroner, looking at the bullets, looking at the angle of the wounds. Can you tell whether Anthony was on the ground facing the officer, if he was on the ground facing away from the officer, if he was on the ground with his back turned facing the officer? I want to know, do you know from your investigation, not testimony from other people, but by your investigation, by the angle of the bullet wounds and the angle of his wounds?
I have covered this, and I'll cover it one more time. I'll say the exact same thing.
But
we know the trajectory was back to front on the 3 shots that were fired that hit Mr. Childs. He was on the ground at the time. I can't tell you at what point in time he was rolling, but obviously he was rolling on the ground, and that's where the shots were fired. He was hit. I know they were distant gunshot wounds. I know that the tested where he was when I got to the scene and where the witnesses say he was, and I know exactly where Officer Brooks was. So, yes, I can
tell me
make
what
it
what you want to tell me, but what I'm asking you,
There's nothing else in
what I'm asking, you're telling me what you want to tell me, but you're not asking my answering the question. My question is, can you tell by his wounds and the exit wounds where Officer Brooks is and where Anthony was? Was his head facing Officer Brooks? Was his back facing Officer Brooks? Was his face facing away from Officer Brooks? That's the question that I've asked 3 times that I want to answer to.
And I can tell you, I don't know whether his hand was placed with the weapon. I can tell you where he was when he was drowned dead, and I got it. But no, I cannot see Mr. Childs on the video. I know that he was, all the witnesses said he went to the fence, tried to go to the fence, turned around, that's when the confrontation was.
So you can't tell about that.
Found next to the fence.
And as far for, Chief Raymond, I have a question I'd like to ask you. 2 questions actually. What is the law on pants sagging exactly? Is it?
Pull up and read it to you, give you exact.
Just paraphrase. Paraphrase.
That's the man sitting right there that brought it up.
Paraphrase. You can paraphrase.
Is it?
The man that right there.
If I may, at this point, if I may take for a point of order.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock. We invited these people to help offer and give. I mean, I don't want
We're the community who pays their salaries. We have a right to know
about the law. I am too, I understand that. But there's a way to do things. We've already I'm taking the,
I'd like to know what the actual law or ordinance is as far as people sagging, waist, navel, underwear showing. What is the law for y'all engaging people for sagging pants? What is that?
So if you go to City Ordinance Section 50-162, I believe, again, I can find it when to give you verbatim, but to paraphrase, your undergarments cannot be seen below. Your pants have to cover your undergarments. So if your pants or where your undergarments can be seen, that is wearing pants below the waistline. We refer to it as sagging, it's actually wearing pants below the waistline. So as it implies, your pants need to be at the waistline, underwear does not need to be visible to the public.
So it's your underwear, is it your underwear or your waistline?
Undergarments is the actual wording.
Undergarments, so shorts?
Yes, sir.
I can have underwear on, baseball shorts, basketball shorts.
Right, your pants are supposed to stay at the waistline, your undergarments are not visible.
Where is the waistline? Is it on your hips, on your navel? Where is that?
That's going to be subjective. I would argue this. When you normally wear your pants, where your undergarments.
It's subjective. And my last question for you, does Officer Brooks know Anthony before this encounter?
Yes.
Wow.
We had an encounter with him the day before.
Do I know him professionally, as a police officer, or personally?
Does he know him? Before this incident, has Officer Brooks had any encounters with Anthony Childs?
I'm not sure.
Yes, he did.
All right. Well, my name is Byron Wilcott. I was the operations manager at Lafayette Regional Airport. I was on boards all the time. I had to speak before the city council. I had to speak before people that came to the aviation board on different things that we had going on at the airport. And really, even though there were 2 people above me, but I was the person who knew the most about the airport. So anytime we had something going on, or we were going to have questions, I'd have a review, and I had answers to these questions that were going on. And several questions have been asked, and a lot of your statements for him was, I don't know, I have to check this out. This guy, Officer Brooks, is an officer-involved shooting in our community. And you as our police chief, I feel should have probably updated yourself more on this person and more of everything that was going on with this case, so we can get more answers than I'll have to look into it. Or even, just like you gave me the paraphrase, that was cool with me, but I think some of the other answers should have had more content to them besides those.
And I'll cut you off, but if I may,
Yes, sir.
I want to be accurate in my statements. If you're asking me if a 20-something-year-old person might have known somebody else, I can tell you that I did review all reports associated with Charles. Officer Brooks' name was not in any of them, but it might be dishonest for me to tell you he had never run across Anthony Childs' his entire life. And instead of being dishonest, because I'm not dishonest, I'm going to give you an accurate answer. An accurate answer is good enough.
I think we should look into that. Whether Officer Brooks has had a previous run-in with Anthony Childs.
Okay, mine is going to be really quick. First of all, I respect the authority, and some of these are kind of questions that you don't really have to answer. Number one, I know that you do some psychological training on these officers. I don't know if it's inside or out, but clearly Mr. Brooks has some issues, or we wouldn't be standing here. Number two, I don't know how long it took for him to call an ambulance. I haven't heard anybody say yet that an ambulance came to Anthony's. That's one. Number three, these witnesses that you're talking about, all I've heard so far of is one that was 14. Maybe you got other names. I'm not saying that you did. How many cases did you file the next day? You said 9. How many was from Anthony's gun? How many was from Mr. Brooks? And to you, Sir Coroner, I do respect you, but my honest opinion is, from knowing Anthony, if I'm left-handed, and I heard boom, boom, those was the last 2 shots I heard. Who did the boom, boom? I don't think it was Anthony. I don't know. But if I'm standing straight up and I shoot myself in the heart with my left hand, I'm coming down. And I'm going to probably be found just like I think y'all found it, face down. So when did he roll? When did he do all of this rolling and it was a threat? Please, remove Mr. Brooks. Remove him off. It's something wrong with that picture. And my only last question is, I do want to answer. Is it too late for this to be overturned and get a trial going or some type of investigation? Is it too late to be reopened? I just want to hear him say it.
That would be a question for the district attorney.
Oh, okay, so they can't answer it.
Well, sign, make sure you sign up.
I'm not a street.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for coming and answering questions from the community this evening. As you see, there are lots of questions, especially as it regards matters of specific importance to this case. But in addition to that, there are matters of systemic importance. This is not, well, I don't want to paint the police department with a broad brush or law enforcement in general, but I will say this feeling, this culture, this dynamic of police being aggressive towards citizens is not an isolated incident. It is systemic, such as this particular young man being pulled over for an ordinance. I think it is very important that we receive information on how many arrests are made on this particular ordinance. I will do the research and legwork to find out what the ordinance is. That should take only a moment. But on your end, Chief Raymond, and I've met with you before, very open and very constructive. But I will ask you please to provide that information to the public so we can begin to get down to the systemic issues that exist, whereby folks are being pulled over for something fairly trivial and they're ending up dead, and that's seeming to happen in particular communities. The second thing that I wanted to ask that is a systemic issue is, what is the process? And I'm not sure if anyone up here can answer the question. What is the process for citizens to come together regarding a citizens review board? Is that through the city of Shreveport? Is that through the police department? Can anyone answer that up here today?
We answered it one time before.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be redundant.
No, baby.
But
that's the city councilman. He can answer it right quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna give some remarks and I would.
You'll address it
at that time.
Okay, so that's my only question, and I'll come up to you after so I can give you my email address. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. At this time, I'm going to break, leave the room, and then we're going to close it out with our council.
Chief Raymond, you specifically stated tonight you don't want to share information with the public. Chief Raymond said you don't want to share information with the public that you don't know is correct. Yet you came to the city council meeting in March and stated on record that the district attorney's office had the case from the coroner, and you were waiting on the DA's ruling. However, you came back last month upon request from Councilor Green and changed the narrative that stated that the DA did not have the case and it was still being evaluated by the coroner. How did that happen?
Well, a couple of things. And to start off, I made a mistake. I admitted to it later that afternoon that the DA did not have a packet. But I will tell you, if you go back and watch and listen to my statements, I did not say the DA had the packet. I was asked, when will the case be completed? And I said, after the DA has had a chance to review the packet, which should take a few weeks. I never said the DA had the packet. Although, we can listen to it. I'm not arguing again. I started off by saying I apologize. I shouldn't have even implied that the DA did. That was called a mistake. And I admitted to it. It was a mistake.
You're a police chief.
I am a police chief. And if you're looking for a police chief that's not going to ever make a mistake.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about a murder case.
Yes, but the mistake I made was whether or not the DA, I implied that the DA had the packet. I never said the DA had the packet. I encourage you to listen to it. And it was a mistake for me to imply the DA had the packet. And I admit to that. It was a mistake.
All right, okay. So, Coroner Tom, you said tonight that Anthony said, shoot me, shoot.
Please shoot.
And you said that one of the first two shots had to come from Anthony Shines, correct?
Correct.
And you said it was in repetition. Boom, boom. All right.
Yeah.
Could not
I
have
want you to
happened.
think about that.
It could not have happened.
Now, the police officer is chasing him for no reason. We know that. So, Anthony Child, there's a fence right there, for those of you who don't know this area. Was Anthony trying to jump the fence, or did he just stop at the fence? Because he was running towards the fence. Did he try to jump the fence?
Are you asking me? All I can tell you is what the testimony said. The testimony said that he ran, attempted to go over the fence, was not able to do that, and he turned around.
Okay, so he turned around. So he's now facing the officer.
Correct.
And so he now tells the officer, because I want to show you what's going to happen. He's facing the officer. She said he's left-handed. And obviously the gun is here, right? And now the officer says, drop the gun, right?
Correct.
So you're saying that the gun is facing him, his gun. And the officer says, drop the gun, but the officer shoots him? And then he shoots himself.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Because it had to be a repetition. You said, boom, boom.
But I can't tell you which shot was fired first. And I think
Both shots came from the same gun.
I know the forensic facts to be, and I can't tell you exactly what happened.
But
if I pull the gun out of my pocket, and I have a gun in my hand, like this, I don't know which way it's going to go. And even if I turned it on myself and shot myself, if you were the officer and you thought you were being threatened, I don't know if he fired the first shot and then Anthony shot himself because he had a gun in his hand, or whether Anthony shot first and the officer shot out of reflex. All I know is 2 shots were fired.
Simultaneously.
But it was repetition. See,
They're both.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know the officer fired one, and we know that Anthony fired the other.
So this is a very critical point. Because at the end of the day, if Anthony has the gun on himself, he fires first. Now what ends up happening? How now is he a threat? Now I'm not even getting to the ground. If he shoots himself, what now threat would he be to the officer for the officer to then fire?
Now you're asking the coroner police procedures, and I already told you I'm not an expert in police procedure. My job is time, manner, and cause of death. So I can't answer that question. But I do know that, and I'm speaking as a citizen when I say this, not as the coroner, but if somebody pulls a gun and has a gun in their hand, I would feel threatened.
But if
you had a gun in your hand, I don't know if you're going to turn it on me or turn it on you.
Dr. Tom,
I don't know. I'm not defending the officer.
If it was in repetition, it would have to mean that the person has the gun pointed at himself. It wasn't boom, boom. It was boom, boom. Yeah. So you're telling me that he has the gun trained on himself. So either he shot himself first, or the officer shot him and it was like boom, boom. So that is the actual issue. Here's a question I need to ask you. What caliber weapon did the officer have?
Yeah. 40 caliber.
So he had a 40 cal.
Right.
And you found those 3 40 cal inside of him. And they were from the back.
Right.
They're from the back. So you're now saying that he gets the shots in the back from the ground, but not from standing up.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to doubt. If he's facing it now, he's facing it now.
Yes.
And it's boom boom. So now he falls on the ground. And you're saying he's a rolling target. Wow. So now the officer is boom, 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 boom. And now he hits him 3 times from the back because you're saying he didn't hit him from the front. Right. Although he's facing him.
Right.
So he must have been a bad shot. Since he didn't shoot him.
I can't.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. And so, from that standpoint, you've already said that his hands were not tested for gun.
Correct.
Is that all? That's standard. So that means you're taking the officer's story automatically.
No, the gun that was fired was sent to the crime lab for evaluation.
Okay.
The gun that was there and photographed and with him, and the witnesses said was there, everything was taken there. The gun was fired. It was consistent with the 9mm. The cartridge was obtained. The investigation was done.
And you said he's 20 feet away, so 20 feet is about.
I said approximately 20, 25.
So you want me to believe, because I was first on the scene that morning after the police left, so I know that fence very well. So you want me to believe that the car was here, and he was about over there by the state?
No. Not quite that far, but yeah, close to it, yeah.
That's all.
And he didn't have no residue?
Okay. First of all, let me just say that I sit here and listen to all the concerns that you have. When I first heard about the story, I reached out to DA Stewart. DA Stewart, he was waiting for the investigation to wrap up. And when he gets the case, he'll make a decision. I've talked to him since, and he said that there was no reason for him to file charges. I said, DA, when you look at it again, see that you mixed up. He said, I have no problem. What I'm going to do, as they used to be so-called NAACP, we're going to ask the DA for a meeting. Come to the NAACP. On top of that, we're going to ask the U.S. Justice Department to come in and look at the case from this so-called NAACP. For folks who just want to be presidents now, you never been to a meeting. But we'll talk about that another day. Thanks.
Stay with the point, stay with the facts.
It never be.
Before you speak, I'm after his grandmother, and I just want to say one thing.
You have the right to speak. Come up here.
I don't think, no, I'm okay. I don't think it's fair to the citizens that the DA didn't show up.
He's out of town.
He has an assistant, he got an office of assistant.
Don't he have assistants?
We have assistants. Yeah, but listen, this is what we're talking about. The assistant name is on the paper that's supposed to have been here. So that's what we're saying. In order to get it reopened, an investigation, one of them should have been here. That's what we're saying. So you don't need to holler. That's what we're saying. The DA told us that I'm going to have somebody like these guys are here, somebody here to speak to our behalf while we decide not to open up an investigation. They don't get no plan in there. So what we're going to have to do now, we got to pressure the district attorney's office and ask them why did they not investigate. The next meeting should be with the district attorney's office. Get on the phone. You like to talk? Get on the phone. Let's talk.
I'd like to say to the we need to get to the source. The coroner has done his job. Y'all made y'all reports. It's the DA who we need to have another meeting with us. And I still say he might be out of town, but it's not fair that he treats citizens like this. That he not come forward to us because we're responsible for him being where he is. And he should have shown up, or his assistant have shown up, and not left all the pressure on the coroner and the police chief. So we need to call another meeting and have him here so he can let us know why he made a decision.
I'm definitely going to get that meeting. I was on the president, he met with you. He have not met with you?
No.
Okay.
No, there's no respect.
But let's be clear. Let's be very, very clear. Because although that District Attorney Stood is not here and his representation is not here from his office, and that is indeed a tragedy. But this is all about the coroner. This is at the point that the coroner says that it's a suicide, that the DA hands is tied. Don't get into all the side entries. It's whatever he says, and it's a done deal. And it's a done deal. Now, he's sitting there, and if I'm not being truthful, then he can say so. But it's what he says, and it's a done deal. The DA can't override the coroner. It's not going to happen.
Thank you.
It's about him.
Educate them. They don't know.
I'm going to make a statement that I apologize to all of you that don't believe me. I believe my integrity and everything that I have.
It's more you we don't believe. We don't believe none of y'all. Don't feel bad.
I would never falsify anything. I would never take one person's side over the forensic evidence. The forensic evidence speaks for themselves, and I will gladly turn everything I've got over to somebody else for review.
Mr. Corden, that wasn't the issue. The issue is after you make your determination. It's that law. That's the
because we gave everybody ample opportunity to speak, that with no disrespect, and we gonna end the meeting like this. What we're saying again, once again, because we're gonna make everybody happy. We didn't come to make everybody happy. We came to get solutions. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna pass the mic on. But according to protocol, according to the next city council meeting will be tomorrow, and I'm gonna see how many people.
Let me just say this, y'all. I want to be as candid and open as I can. Let me first thank these gentlemen for coming and speaking this out with us. When I come in,
We pay their salary.
when I was invited, and I was asked to participate, but I declined. I was asked to bring this before the council before it was complete. But the council of this district asked me to hold until we get the total information regarding this incident. Okay, I came here to talk about solutions, and I'm going to do that. I didn't come here to prosecute this case. Okay, we did not come here to prosecute this case, and we are not going to prosecute this case, even though there are and will be, I'm sure, a situation that will bring forth these gentlemen into another proceedings where they will be asked to testify on oath. Okay. I'm sure, no, I'm not going to do that.
Testify on oath.
Yeah. But I'm saying that did not happen tonight. The first thing I did 20 years ago when I became the president of the Police Police Association, I went to the Police Citizens Academy. I went through that whole apparatus because I wanted to get a clear understanding of police work. I rolled the police officers, I went through their training, I went through all of the apparatus in which police officers go through to try to be able to perform their duties. When I got elected to the city council, I went back riding with the police officers. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but if you saw what go on in this city after dark, you would want to go to the police academy as well. All right. For the last 25 years, every police shooting, this gentleman, and several other gentlemen have always came to the forefront to try to pursue some answers to those situations. This is not new to me. This is not new to these guys. This man has shown up at the city council meeting more than anybody who wasn't an elected official. Okay? Now, tonight, and I welcome you. I always welcome citizen input. Okay? You are our bosses. You deserve to have answers. You deserve to know what the process and procedure are in some of these situations. But just coming out here tonight raising sand ain't gonna get it, y'all.
No,
making these accusations ain't gonna
we got to, where do we go from here moments? Okay, so what I'm suggesting to you, okay, there's several ways that I want you to move forward. Okay. Now, the question is asked, who is responsible? How could a citizen review committee be created or established? The charter gives the city council preview over all departments of the city of Shreveport. If the city of Shreveport City Council votes to look at or implement, when I say look at, to investigate the possibilities or look at the feasibility of a review committee, the city council will do that. That's the point. It has to be the majority of the city council that agree to that. Okay. The next thing.
You bring it to the city council.
No, listen. I would introduce. It's done by resolution or ordinance. Okay. We can form or have the feasibility of a review committee investigated by an ordinance or a resolution. I'm prepared to do that. But my point is, I'm not prepared to do that from the nice meeting. Okay, I'm prepared to do that by your presence at the city council meeting, making all 7 of those city council meetings feel what you feel tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm saying, I don't know, and I'm not speaking for anybody, but I've been waiting to get this information to the public. I'm on the city council member here. So they didn't hear what you heard. They don't feel what you feel. So I'm saying, show up at the city council meeting on the 14th and let's continue this type of dialogue. I'm just saying that, okay? Now the next thing I'm saying is that I am not going to say what we cannot have. This situation with Anthony Child, I'm sympathetic with his family as well. But I'm looking at a bigger situation, okay? And the expectations of our citizens in our community. I said it again. We can go back, we can identify a young man got shot riding a bicycle in Allendale. We can talk about the guy who got shot while at the service station. Marquis Hudson. I mean, we've been there for all of them. Craig Lee and I was 25 years ago. We was marching down Fairfield Avenue, Stop the Violence campaign, and we've had about 50 of them over the last 25 years. And we ran up on, what did we run up on? Dead bodies. A dead body in the middle of the street. Okay, now listen, I'm telling you now, listen, we can't just come out and just talk. If you want solutions, we've got to impress upon the majority of the city council. Willie Brown by himself can't pass nothing. We've got to have the majority of the city council who feel like we do and want to see solutions to this thing. We're going to move forward.
Councilman Bradford, would you speak to the fact that it is actually the city council do not have the power to authorize a citizen review board because it's state law? So the city council can only push a resolution actually urging the state legislation to do so.
We have limited authority when it comes to our police and fire because the city service board. We are dealing with something like that now. But I'm saying that the city council could go and submit a petition our legislators to look at doing what we want done. I'm just saying it's a process. It's a process, but it starts with the city council. Okay. But I'm just saying, but it has to be a continuation process. You can't be one meeting at Winfield Funeral Home and we think it's a panacea for everything that's going to happen that's going to solve our problems. That's not going to be the issue. Okay. So I'm just saying, if you want to see some changes, and the brother said we came here for change and solutions. Okay, let's not let tonight go wasted. Let's move forward to get some things done The jury tomorrow says she had made notes. I want to get a copy of those notes. I want to distribute those notes to the city council. Okay, and I want the city council to get an idea of what the concerns and the frustration of this community is. Okay. We then can move toward legislation to address some of these issues. It ain't gonna happen in Whitfield Funeral Home. I want you to understand that. We have a good night. I welcome all citizens to express themselves. It's a part of the democratic process. But if we really want to put some teeth in what we're gonna move from here on, we got to do another step, and then another step, and another step. And it has to be a very, very, very strategic step that we can get things done. Thank you again, police officers, coroner. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna get ready to, if you want to ask any questions afterwards, that'll be fine. But we've been here 3 hours. Sister Najiri, thank you so much. To the panel, thank you so much. Thank you all for coming out and voicing your opinions.
We need to flood that city council meeting on the 14th of this month, y'all. We need to flood that council meeting.
If y'all mind, let us in. Hold on, baby. For the closing prayer. If y'all mind, let us in.
Hey, Wade, I don't know why they didn't show up. We know we was looking for Councilman James Green to show up.
Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you now for your loving kindness, your tender mercy, and your grace toward all mankind. We thank you for this meeting. We thank you for the come together. And Lord, we ask you for solutions. We ask that you protect us, keep us in your care. We thank those who came out for their time to address our concerns. Now we move toward legislation and solution. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, there you have it, y'all. This first meeting, like Councilman Bradford say, this is the first step. We need y'all to come out there to that city council meeting, man. That's where it all go down. You gotta come out to that city council meeting on the 14th. And we're gonna go from there. But we're gonna do what we can, man, to try to get them to reopen that case. As y'all can hear, there's a lot of frustration, but again, you know, just hollering and screaming don't take care of nothing. But y'all give me a second, man. I gotta get it go. But we're gonna share this on the watch party. Y'all share this video. And again, know that on the 14th of this month, we're gonna be down at the city council meeting. And we're gonna try to flood it, man. With enough people down there, we're gonna have enough Negroes to make a Tarzan movie down there. To the point they can't get nothing done until they answer our question. Again, screaming and yelling.
So they already know what we need to focus on. See, they killed themselves tonight. The first 2 shots.
Man, anybody with in their right mind know the first 2 shots came from the same gun.
Absolutely.
Because you didn't hear a distance shot.
Absolutely.
You didn't hear a distance. So that's why I told them earlier, everything that y'all saying, basically, really, y'all need to shut up.
No, they killed him, but that's why I wasn't making sure. But I got him on record. Because he said, boom, boom. Because that would mean the gun had to be pointed at him.
I'm there waiting. And you shot him anyway.
And but he, look, you know I was out there that morning.
Yeah.
I'm over there 20 feet is over there, man. That dude wasn't 20 feet from me.
If you don't tell nobody, then how am I telling you? Like you brought a point. At this nigga rolling, he had to be a marksman to catch him every time he rolled over and hit him in the back. I mean, come on. Every time y'all speak, my bad, everybody. Y'all give me a second. Y'all be blessed. Man, the whole where you at, little boy? Come on.